Hello and welcome to the Alpine F1 team launch. The Enstone team has a new dawn, and today the Alpine F1 team comes to light. Thank you very much for joining us and taking the time to meet the team. We appreciate it's a pretty busy day of Formula One. But please do send in your questions if you put your name and publication and to which speaker the question is directed, and we'll endeavour to get through as many as possible. You can ask your questions in English and French, or English and Italian for Davide, and I will get a much more capable colleague to do all the translations. So let's open this session and hear from Laurent Rossi, the CEO of Alpine Cars. Welcome, Laurent. Now we have Esteban here today, unfortunately not Fernando for obvious reasons, but I believe you have another driver joining you, and you can tell us who the Alpine F1 team reserve driver is.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Thank you, everyone. We have a strong addition to the team, indeed, in the person of Daniel Kvyat, who's going to be our reserve driver for the season. We're pretty happy about that because in a year of pandemic, it is important for us to have a strong backup, and Daniel has proven that is a very quick and reliable driver under very difficult conditions. He's already scored 3 podiums at the age of 26, so we're very, very happy to have someone who's going to be able to step up if the need arises and score the points, take the car where it should be at the end of the line. So quite happy about this addition, strong addition to our team.
And how do you expect the Alpine name to be embraced in an international sporting event which is watched by millions and millions this season? How do you think it will be embraced?
Well, first off, Alpine is known for its victories in rallying as well as in Le Mans. It's a sports brand. The specialists would know that. So it has already a legacy of its own in sports, in motorsports. Second, you might know that the first Renault Formula One, the RS01, was actually based off an Alpine, the A500. The first Alpine, the first Formula One designed by the Renault Group back then was already designed by Alpine. And the name of the car this year, the A521, actually directly refers to the A500, the first model of its own, if you will, Formula One. So for those two reasons only, Alpine is legit in the motorsports arena. And then, if you look at the brands around us, the teams we're competing against, most of them are true sports brands. And in that respect, Alpine is already a sports brand selling like the A110 now, but other models back then that are all celebrated as efficient sports cars. So even off track, if you will, the Alpine brand is extremely legit in the current F1 universe. I would say, despite all of his strong legacy and victories in motorsport, the Renault Group actually was a good name to have, but this year the Alpine name is even more legit in the current Formula One circus, if you will.
We have a question from Panagiotis Sitanidis from Car Magazine News Auto. He says, this is a project with ambition, bringing forward an emotional brand. What is the timeline ahead regarding the short-term and long-term goals of Alpine F1?
Thanks for the question. So on the very short term this year, it is obvious that it's a transition year for everyone, in fact, not for us. It's not a transition year for a team in particular. It's just the end of an era, of a regulation era, and we're already gearing up, building the car for the new era. So for this year, the car is an improved version of last year, if I may. Of course, it's a bit different, but it's an evolution more than a disruption in terms of design, both from the engine and the chassis side. So what we hope is to do at least as well as we did last year, that is to say, be a consistent contender for podiums and fight with the best for good to great results during the races. So that this year, behind the scene, out of the track, we're building the new car, the new engine, the new chassis, And here our objectives are pretty aggressive. In fact, Alpine is here to stay. It's the affirmation of the Renault Group that we want to tackle the new era with high ambitions. And we decisively designed our processes, our team, in order to first compete for podiums in the midterm, and then in the longer run, compete for victories and not just races, but also the championship, the driver and the title, the constructor championship. By the end of the era, this is what we want to accomplish. We don't enter the field with the hope of doing well, we enter the field with the hope of winning.
Dieter Renken Racing Lines asks, please give us an idea of the exact executive structure of the team, who reports to whom and who is responsible for what areas and activities?
Yeah, so in the team, the top structure, if you will, is under me is Martin and Budkowski and Davide Brivio. Martin will be in charge of the development of the chassis and the powertrain, so we'll coordinate the whole development of the car. Davide will be racing director, so the two of them will work in tandem to extract the best out of the car that's been designed in stone, to put it in the best position possible in the future. The rest of the teams are keeping their existing line structures, to Martin in Enstone or to myself in Viry, which is a bit of a different situation because it's a PU manufacturer, if you will. But besides those two lines that I said, the rest stays like it was last year.
Okay, thank you for that. We're going to keep going through some questions, and please, if you're watching this as an interested party, please keep sending your questions in. Demetrius Bizas from Four Wheels magazine asks, what are the challenges of leading a marque that tries to redefine itself in both the car industry and in motorsport through Formula One?
Well, I mean, it's a challenge in and of itself to relaunch a brand, that's for sure. But here we have more opportunities than challenges. In fact, the goal behind the creation of the Alpine business unit was to tap into the rich pool of resources that the Renault Group has to offer. The Alpine brand alone is an acknowledged brand, but a bit of a niche one. We have strong engineering behind it, but we also have the expertise of the Renault Sport Group, which was building all of the RS cars, Renault Sports division. We obviously have the extremely skilled workforce of the Formula One team, and we have Dieppe also manufacturing the Alpine. So put that all together, you have like a super strong mix. Of course, what we'll derive from Formula One is obviously exposure. We have like a considerable media exposure just inherently to the F1 cloud, if you will. And then on top of that, we will also derive some of the technical expertise in the Alpine passenger car division. Obviously, the next frontier being the aerodynamics and the weight. Here again, leaning or actually building on top of the Formula One expertise will be a considerable asset for the Alpine brand. So, like I said, we have more opportunities and challenges here.
James Gray from iNewspaper in London asks, can you tell us a bit about Fernando's condition, and are you still confident that he'll be fit for testing?
Yes, absolutely. Fernando is doing very well. Obviously, he had a bad incident. Bike accident is rarely something that goes easy, but he was lucky, and he ended up only suffering from his jaw. So besides necessary surgery, I would say necessary care on his jaw, the rest is totally fine. Fernando is completely fit. You saw him in the video earlier on. He's totally operational. We even surprised that he's recovered so quickly. So he confirmed to us immediately, almost after the incident, that he would be here in Bahrain, which has been confirmed with his doctors, and it looks like he was right, because he's absolutely fit, and we are looking forward to seeing him next week in the car.
Well, that's good news. Chan Jun from Autofan China says, a question about Zhu Wanzhu, the team reserve driver. During the media session for Shanghai Media last week, Zhu talked about his contract with Alpine. He said, if I get a super license, the team will arrange a seat for me. He's 2 points off that. Is this true? Also, for his third year in F2, what kind of results would be required to promote him or put him in a partnership team?
Well, I'm not necessarily aware of of these comments. What is certain, though, is that Zhu has a lot of talent. He needs to perform very well this season to confirm all of the hopes put in him. And if he does so, he will certainly have a shot at some point to a spot in the Formula One circus, obviously. So no doubt that he has the talent, like Christian, for instance, and the rest of the academy drivers, and that's why they've been selected.
Laurent, Alpine is leaning on a rich heritage from Renault Sport. It's got a big future ahead as Alpine, and I just wonder what the goals are from that point of view, because I know you're very much talking about looking forward. How does that actually manifest in terms of targets?
Well, I mean, the big milestone that we have is to behave like a independent, if you will, business unit. That is to say, at our first goal post is basically 2025, where we aim at being break-even, which means that the profits from selling Alpine cars, as well as other sources of revenue, but let's for the moment just consider that, will balance the cost of running the competition activities, including F1, but not just. As you know, we have several involvement in many other areas. So this is our goal. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will, or rather a virtual circle, in the sense that, like I said earlier on, building on the visibility that Formula One, as well as other endeavors in motorsport, will bring, as well as the expansion of our network. We will sell more, first Alpine A110, and then more of the new lineup that's coming up in 24, 25, and 26 for the first 3 models that will follow the A110. And at the end of the day, this virtuous mechanism will pay off. This is the plan.
Yeah, you mentioned other endeavours, and that leads us nicely into a question from Pierrick from leblogauto.com. Have the F1 drivers asked to drive the prototype car at the 24 Hours of Le Mans 21 or 22?
They have not, because for now they're focused on the Formula One, and just the Formula One. It's already a lot of work. We don't exclude that at some point, in under some circumstances, some of them could participate. But for now, we're not mixing the two. We're focusing on F1. F1 is truly, clearly at the center. We cannot afford to start distracting the drivers. If it's proven feasible, we might consider it, but it's not the plan today.
Joe Sayward from Auto Week asks, is it possible to find a partner team in 2022?
Well, I mean, this is a question that's being asked all around, and it can take several forms. We're open to the idea. We're not necessarily looking for one. You have to understand that because of the sheer nature of the business unit, the F1 team is central to the business unit today. So having a partner team would be a nice to have, but not a must have, because we're building around the current F1 team. We need full autonomy, full independence, full dedication to the F1 team and itself, and leveraging it, being able to reap the fruit for the business unit. So building a partner team could be a nice to have down the road, but it's not something we're actively seeking at the moment.
From Grupo Imagine Excelsior asks, Esteban has the clear figure of Fernando Alonso in the organisation. The contract of the French driver includes any clause to determine who is the #1 driver. So basically, do you have a #1 driver?
That doesn't exist. I don't think it exists in many teams, to be honest, at least not in ours. The two drivers have to be as fast as possible, and we clearly challenge each other. And that's like healthy competition, and that's about it. There's no instruction and no #1 driver designated here.
Adam Cooper from motorsport.com asks or says, Renault has no customer team in 2021. What are the pros and cons of being the only team using the engine?
Well, the pros are that we can dedicate all our efforts on designing our own engine and fitting it into our own car, which is a big pro because you're not distracted by other activities, and you can really leverage the fact that you are a manufacturer. The cons could be the fact that you might lose a little bit of the co-development that you could get by running two or several teams in parallel. But frankly, it could be outweighed very quickly should you have any problems. And then I like to add the fact that one of the cons could be that if you are designated to provide the PU to another team, if you have not been prepared for that, you will need to increase the workforce consistently. So I'm not sure it's a very desirable effect. So at the end of the day, we're pretty happy supplying ourselves at the moment.
Jason Barlow, BBC Top Gear, asks, Laurent, you're a Harvard MBA and obviously highly strategic, but a Formula One team makes extraordinary demands on those in charge. In your view, what are the key requirements?
Well, it's to have the strong people around you. That's my learning in life is that you don't do anything alone. So to be resilient in any environment, you need skills, you need stamina, you need a lot of qualities. Formula One is exceptionally under pressure in terms of environment. You need a strong team, and that's what we thought in having Davide on board. He has proven experience managing teams and champions under pressure, so this will help greatly the team. And then, of course, starting with Martin, but irradiating into Olen, Stone, and Vieri, we have extremely skilled people at the helm developing our car. So this is what you need, and basically I'm modestly here managing all of these people towards one same goal, but providing them with all of the support, whether it's logistical, material, or sometimes, I hope, intellectual, but really surround yourself with the great ones, and that's how you thrive. And that's what I hope I did.
Ishihara in Formula One Sokuho from Japan says F1 will freeze engine development starting in 2022. What are the benefits of that for Alpine?
Well, the benefits are the same for everyone. The cost of developing a powertrain unit are quite high. The cost of operating them as well, changing every year, was a big pressure on all of the manufacturers, like the PU manufacturers. Freezing the definition will allow for a bit of a pause, and will actually allow us also to think about the next generation of powertrains. So it takes some time to deliver a new generation, and if you want to make some significant improvement in terms of technical definition of your powertrain, you can't achieve that by constantly changing from a year to another. You need to allow the team to make a breakthrough in the new directions that are going to be indicated by the FIA. We're working with them into designing the next set of regulations, including for the engine. So it is good for everyone that we freeze and limit then the cost of development of those powertrains, pretty much like we're doing in a way with the cost cap on the chassis. So it's basically containing the escalation.
Laurent, thank you very much. That concludes the English section. I'd like now to hand over to my French-speaking colleague.